There we go. Hello, everybody. We're going to be talking over now the second round / quarterfinals of the Half a Leg Cup. All 4 fixtures have been played. The semi-final has been drawn up. So, let's see how people got on. Unfortunately, with the first game, the Mushroom Pickers versus the Sneaky Sniggering Kniggets, that game was unfortunately forfeited due to Rob being unable to continue for the rest of the season for unforeseen circumstances at home and things like that. Wish him all the best, and hopefully he'll return back to us very soon. But we move on now to the Wild Boys versus the Xandri Power Slaves. And to be fair, it was a 1-0 victory for the T-GOW Wild Boys, but it was a very well contested match, and right up until the end of the second half, it was very, very close and very likely that there was going to be an equaliser. But unfortunately, it fell at the last minute. There was 3 completions that was made by the Xandri Power Slaves, so although they did lose, they are gaining themselves some valuable ball handling experience. There we go for our bony friends. But 2 casualties and a touchdown for the T-GOW Wild Boys see them easily make their way through to their first ever semi-final. Moving on now, as you can see, with the Nordic Nippers versus the Averheim Mashers, a replay of the first Premier Division round of fixtures. But the big difference here, the Averheim Mashers were down a significant amount of players due to a high casualty deficit it was left upon them from their previous game. Lee jokingly mentioned at the start of this game that he might lose something like, I don't know, 4-0, which gave me a goal. The first half ended 1-0 to myself, very, very close to being a 2-0, but luckily he held us off. But with 3 touchdowns in the second half, 1 coming in turn 16 itself, it was indeed a 4-0 victory to the Nordic Nippers. Looking at our list here, a journeyman for the Averheim Mashers got himself a casualty, and another one got a completion. Jay Monroe, which was the only full-time player for the Averheim Mashers to lead the field, got himself a Kaz. This is because a lot of the inducement money, due to missing a lot of players, went on buying pretty much an entire starting 11 of mercenaries, as the Averheim Masher camp did comfortably and confidently say that they were going to focus on the league and just wanted to survive. A casualty was inflicted on a Thrall, which was just a badly hurt, as well as a niggling injury and missing next game injury on a vampire, but that was swiftly regenerated. There was also no completions, actually, in this game for the Nordic Nippers, which has been a fair staple. Although there was attempts, the passes were accurate, but the catches were not. And our final fixture, which was the Somebodies versus the Illustrated Snotlings. This is painful for Sam. It is, because although Sam is very much enjoying playing the Snotlings, compared to his performances with the Nurgle team, it is very much proof that he's not quite ready, or he's not comfortable playing a Snotling team. The opposite can be said for Liam. He seems to be enjoying the Wood Elves more, and his performances have picked up. If my math serves correctly, he is challenging for the title of the Primera Division. He is now into the semi-final of the League Cup. He is doing way better than he ever has done in previous seasons. This was a 3-0 on touchdowns to the Somebodies. It was 5-1 on casualties to the Somebodies, and a completion for the Somebodies. 2 things that I need to point out about this game. There was 3 deaths for the Illustrated Snotlings, 2 of which one was a pump wagon, one was a troll. very, very deadly from the Wood Elf team, and very unfortunate from the Illustrated Snotlings, as they are key pieces for a Snotling team. They are going to be replaced, as far as I'm aware. A treasury was being built up by the Illustrated Snotlings for such a day, about 300,000 gold or so, and as far as I'm aware, the majority of that, if not all of that, has been spent on replacing those pieces. The other thing that I would like to point out is a Snotling was taken to the hospital with a suspected dislocated shoulder and feared that strength was going to be lost. Upon arrival at the hospital, it was found that this Snotling was already such a weak little shit that a dislocated shoulder actually didn't affect him in any such way. So, congratulations to the Snotling team. You suffered a strength-crippling injury, but was already that weak that it didn't matter. Well done. But that concludes the fixtures that were completed. I think now we want to see who is playing who. And it is as follows. It is going to be Jim, your team, the T-GOW Wild Boys, the Chaos Renegades, taking on the Primera Division Mushroom Pickers, the coach of the former two-time league champion, the Goblin team. But this Goblin team comparatively is struggling, whereas the Wild Boys are flying. It is going to be a very interesting match, and we're going to see if, Jim, you can make yourself your first final in your first season. See if you can follow in the footsteps of Rob with his Halfling team, not Snotlings. He's playing Snotlings this season. And myself, the Nordic Nippers, I'm going to be taking on Liam in the Somebodies, and this is going to be a very, very tough game. A very interesting game too, because Liam is playing fantastically well, but I have got a history of beating Liam fairly comfortably, but I have not played him against his Wood Elves. I have only ever played Liam against bashy teams, and because he's now doing so well with his Wood Elf team, I actually do wonder if it's going to cause an upset. The Nordic Nippers are set up in a way to semi-counter the Wood Elves, as because I was put in the league full of 3 stunty teams, a dodgy team, and least humans, I started taking precautions in my skill choices. Not something that I would have done against a more balanced league. Hopefully it makes a difference. We shall see. But it's going to be very interesting. My predictions, for all that they're worth, I do predict the Wild Boys are going to go through, but it's going to be close. I reckon it'll probably be, because of the Doom Diver, I reckon it will be 2-2, and I predict the Wild Boys to win in overtime, making it 3-2. Myself versus the Somebodies with such high scoring potential and very much elven bullshit. I have been doing some bullshit myself. Kind of want to say it's going to be a draw, but I do have a feeling that if I have a bit of unluckiness, that Liam could quite easily roll over me. I would say it's advantage to Liam, but it's going to be close. Probably if we play this match 3 or 4 times, I would probably expect to win the vast majority of them. But, as is with the cup competition, anything can happen, and I give full props to Liam that he could very easily pull off an upset. He very well could, and considering he's only got in under his belt less than 20 games, if I remember right, including a couple tournament appearances at NAF, but still, under 20 games, he's still a very inexperienced coach, and it could go either way. But people are going to know what the next fixtures are, just in general, because now we have surpassed week 5 of 12. We are now looking at week 6, which, if I do my calendar math correctly, will be played on the 2nd of May. 2nd of May will host the Primera Division Round 3 fixtures and the Segunda Division Round 4 fixtures, which, if I just look here, the Primera Division round 3 is going to be the Mushroom Pickers versus the Somebodies, the Nordic Nippers versus the Illustrated Snotlings, and Lee, I believe your game has already been played, unfortunately, but you would have had a concede, but instead, if I double check my docket here, Rob won 1-0 with a 5-1 on casualty as well, which he was the person that inflicted the pain. Thank you, Rob, for setting me up for an easy bye. So that match has already been completed, but these two fixtures here will be played. And for the Primera Division, you guys, the Segunda Division, sorry. Round 4. The Badlands Blackhawks versus the Anti-Heroes. That's Stuart versus Nigel. We have the Zandri Power Slaves versus the Bob Boys. Ooh, replay of that round 2 fixture. That's going to be a tasty. And unfortunately, because of people missing from this season compared to previous, Pixie Prixies, Tom, you have gained yourself a concede versus Adams Roaring Juniors. I will make sure to distribute your SPP as per your training session. So, thank you guys. Good luck. And I will be seeing you when more fixtures are complete.